Before I start this top 10 list, I'd like to say that the current plan for the channel is to have an episode of the Backlog followed by the next week one of these top 10 videos or opinion pieces, and then another episode of the Backlog, and so on and so forth. So next week, you will be seeing the Dead Space review, but for now, these are my top 10 favorite TV shows. Number 10, the Dragon Ball series. Now, for this video, I'm going to have DVDs to show. Unfortunately, I'm not going to do that with the Dragon Ball series, Dragon Ball, Z, GT. Yes, GT. I have no opinion of Super yet, because I own all of it. I can't just choose one set to represent all 16 seasons, all 508 episodes. Basically, the series has been fairly inspirational to me. Goku has been sort of a role model to me. It's got a lot of action set pieces, and really, the action is great, but unfortunately about that is there's a lot of filler, especially during action, which is why I'm putting it at the bottom of this list, because honestly, there are times where it starts with the Frieza saga, which isn't that far into Z, where I'm watching it, but it's dragging so much that I start to fall asleep, which is really sad. I love the show. I love all three shows, even GT to a lesser extent. But it's just I can't watch Dragon Ball Z as much as I could watch the original Dragon Ball or even GT, even though GT I think is a lower quality series compared to its predecessors. I think it's a hangnail. But the thing is, I may as well address GT here. I don't mind the series. I'm glad that it's officially non-canon simply because I don't have to hear fanboys and detesters bitching about it, for fuck's sake. I could go and make a whole rant video about Dragon Ball GT, but honestly, I don't want to do that here. It's just, it's okay. It had some neat concepts, like the whole thing with Baby and the Tuffles against the Saiyans and that coming full circle, and the villains coming out of hell during the Super 17 saga, although I really don't like Super Android 17, and the concept of the Shadow Dragons and the Dragon Balls being overused. I like that concept, but they don't take it far enough. Like I said, I could do a whole rant video. The original Dragon Ball, I absolutely adore, even though I haven't finished it yet. I've only watched the first 2 season box sets. I haven't gotten around to watching the other 3, and that makes me sad because I have a lot of fun watching the original Dragon Ball. But yeah, it's heavily flawed, but I still love it to death. Number 9, How I Met Your Mother. Now, the way I sort of discovered How I Met Your Mother was through a bunch of images on the internet, mainly pertaining to Barney Stinson, and I thought that's a really cool guy. Now, keep in mind, I was something like a sophomore or a junior in high school at the time, and I thought, man, that guy's really cool. I want to watch this show. So, on a whim, I was at FYE in the mall, and they had the first season for about $10, so I decided to get it, and I finished it all in 2 days. I loved it. So I would eventually get seasons 2 through 5, which I'm trying to sell now on eBay so I can get some extra scratch before I can actually find a job. And because I want to get the complete series set, I want to know what the pineapple incident was, for one thing. But what I like about How I Met Your Mother was I identify with Ted being that sort of hopeless romantic optimist. Although I'm a bit more of an optimistic pragmatist, if you will. Barney's funny. I like Marshall and Lily as characters. They were only broken up during 1 season, but I feel that their relationship is real, and it's not always completely lovey-dovey. What else? I do like the comedy in it, especially since it subverts this a typical sitcom formula where they film it on a set. They film it with no audience, thankfully, and they take the completed episode and show it to an audience and record their reaction, their audible reaction, and then they put that on the audio track, and it doesn't interfere. And I really like that, because it feels like, oh, well, the acting is more natural because they don't have to wait on an audience, which is a problem that shows like That 70s Show, which is another show I enjoy, had, because they were trying to make the audience laugh, but still trying to do a good show, but they were at the mercy of the audience laughing, so it's possible they may have to cut some stuff out because of the studio audience going on too long. Maybe they had to write shorter scripts to account for several minutes, when you add it up, of an audience laughing. My one gripe with the show is the ending. Not the notion that, spoilers, Ted gets with Robin after Tracy died, but how they just rush everything in the span of 2 episodes, particularly Barney. He's still continuing with his old ways for a few years after he and Robin get divorced. Spoilers again. And then, like, he gets some random girl pregnant, and he's just, like, sort of blowing off the kid, but he's still there just because he feels obligated, but he doesn't really want to do it. And then he holds his baby daughter, and it's a life-changing moment for him, but they completely gloss over it. It's just like, it happens, okay, now let's move on. It's a good show, but it's got its problems, particularly with the ending. It's a good show. I think it's the Friends of the 21st century, even though Friends continued into the 21st century. I haven't watched enough Friends. I really want to keep going with that show, but I don't want to go out of my way to watch it, but I guess it's on Netflix, and I'm barring Friends Netflix count. Thanks, Brendan. But I've talked enough about How I Met Your Mother, so let's move on. Number 8. Batman Beyond. Now, Batman Beyond is a bit of an oddity because it takes place 40 to 50 years after Batman the Animated Series, which is a highly acclaimed show. It is a great show. But honestly, the reason why I like Batman Beyond more, and if you could see my desktop here, I've actually got my wallpaper as a minimalist Batman Beyond wallpaper, where Terry just sort of lifts up his wings in the intro. What I like about Batman Beyond, which I've only got the first season, and I've got the movie on Blu-ray. The movie is damn good. It's just so damn good, that movie. But I'm not going to talk about the movie because this is about the show. What I like about the show is that it's got my favorite version of Batman. I love Terry. Terry, I like him more than Bruce Wayne as Batman, because Terry's being Batman because he stole the suit, because he was trying to do sort of a corporate takedown after his father was murdered. Bruce lets him keep the suit. Bruce trains him so he's not so reliant on the suit's more advanced capabilities of enhancing his strength and such. And, you know, his reasoning for being Batman is because he was a bad kid. He went to juvie for some bad stuff that happened, and a lot of people still see him as a punk, including his girlfriend's dad. So he feels like being Batman will redeem him in his own eyes, if not in anyone else's, and I think that's something very noble. He's doing it not for thrills, but so he can feel like he's worthwhile, even if no one else can know it. And that's just one thing. I like the cyberpunk aesthetic. I like the Batsuit. Bruce Wayne and I've got notes here, by the way, just so I can gather my thoughts. Terry and Bruce have a great dynamic, with Bruce being basically mission control, you know, the old guard initiating and training the new one. But my problem with Batman Beyond is that the villains are very weak. Now, when they were creating the show, they didn't just want to do... I'm messing with sunglasses. It's probably getting on the mic. It's getting really annoying. When Paul Dini, Bruce Hammond, I believe Glenn Murakami, were making the show... they didn't want to just do rehashes of Batman villains. And so... I'm moving the mouse. And so they didn't just want to do like Joker Beyond and Two-Face Beyond, but unfortunately that kind of happened at some points with like Ink. She's an earlier villain. She's basically just Clayface. Spellbinder, that's his name. He's basically Scarecrow. There are... most of the characters... most of the villains, I should say, aren't very original. They're not very interesting, which is shocking considering it's DC, but then again, this was all made for TV, and then Batman Beyond was just ported to the comics. Kind of like Harley Quinn. Oh, my door. And my other problem with it is that there's not really an ending. I mean, there's that one episode of Justice League Unlimited, but but that's an epilogue that's like 15 years in the future. And that's supposed to show like the deeper connection that Terry and Bruce have. There really was no proper ending to this show, and that's kind of upsetting. But I love this show. It's my favorite Batman. It's got my favorite bat suit. I love the cyberpunk aesthetic. I love the music. I love the relationship between Terry and Bruce. Terry's my favorite Batman. Let's move on. Number 7. The Critic. Now, a lot of you may not have heard of this show, The Critic. I've got the complete box set here. This was a show made by the producers of The Simpsons, as it says on the box. I believe it was Al Jean and Mike Reese. They were showrunners for The Simpsons for several years. During the show's heyday, when it was really rising up, The Critic was a show that they started on ABC in 1994. And what they did with it was they took all of the tropes, the main tropes of the then modern animated sitcom, and flipped them on their heads. Like the fact that basically they took The Simpsons and inverted it completely. Instead of being focused around the family, it's focused on a single divorced man. Instead of being in the suburbs, it's in New York City. Instead of being blue collar, he is a film critic with his own cable television show. He goes to fancy restaurants. His best friend is an actor who stars in so many movies that he hates. The critic's name is Jay Sherman, by the way. He's got a horrible relationship with his ex-wife, a great relationship with his son, and ABC hated it. But they were under contract. They were airing the first episode, and they were being called constantly by viewers saying that it was too indecent for ABC. But they had to go through with it. They signed a contract for 13 episodes. After that, they canned it. It was picked up by Fox, ordered it for 10 episodes for a second season. They changed the animation a bit and gave Jay a love interest, which I actually really liked. The love interest, Alice. She was a Southern girl, but she was stern. She wouldn't take Jay's crap, but she and Jay were really nice together. Jay's boss was basically Ted Turner. And unfortunately, the reason why the show didn't catch on was two things. One was because no one really understood a lot of the jokes, that really sophisticated jokes, or the jokes about Ted Turner's questionable business practices and such. And two, when it was on Fox, the executives that greenlit the show for a second season picked it up. They were gone by the time it went to air. And so the new guys that came in hated the show. They were constantly moving around the time slot, so no one would watch it. The ratings were low. They dragged their feet on an official cancellation, and UPN wanted to pick it up, but because of that dragging their feet on the cancellation, UPN couldn't get it. So it came back in 2001 as a series of webisodes. Wasn't good. The movie parodies in this are fucking top-notch. My only other gripe with the show is that there's not enough. There's only 23 episodes, but most of it's on YouTube. So definitely look it up. It's a fucking great show, and the DVD is something like $10 on Amazon. You get all 23 episodes, and you get the webisodes, and you get some commentaries. Also, John Lovitz plays Jay Sherman. It's John Lovitz. He's fucking great. And he's basically playing John Lovitz. So if you give an actor a role that's basically them, you're gonna get something great. Number 6. Scrubs. Scrubs is a show that I discovered... Stuff's falling out. Scrubs is a show that I discovered when I was a freshman in high school. And this show has gotten me through some tough times, because whenever I'm feeling down, I just pop in Scrubs. And I find an episode, where at the end of every episode, the main character, JD, is supposed to be writing in his diary. He has like a monologue that sort of sums up a lesson learned by the characters in that episode. And it speaks to me. It spoke to me very often. It helped me get through some hard times in high school. Which it takes a lot of detail to go into that. But I love these characters. Zach Braff and Donald Faison have amazing on-screen chemistry. They feel like best friends, and they became best friends as a result of this show. I feel like I more or less am JD. For those of you who don't know, Scrubs is a medical show. For a while, I think it was probably the most accurate show on television. A lot of people say the drama's corny. I like it. It's gotten me going, especially the last episode of the 8th season, that was intended to be the series finale. That last episode, where with the Book of Love scene, where JD's sort of watching his future with Elliot. Elliot's a woman, by the way, in this show. Her dad wanted a boy. It's just, it makes me well up every time. And then, of course, there's season 9, which I've seen a few episodes of. It's okay, but I don't think they should have called it Scrubs. It should have been a completely different show. To disassociate it from Scrubs, it shouldn't have been the same characters. It should have been a different show, season 9, because they took away what made Scrubs great for the most part in that, from what I've seen. Do I plan to finish watching it? Maybe? I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't seem that good, season 9. But then again, a lot of people hate Dragon Ball GT. I think it's okay. So who knows? But the relationships in Scrubs feel real. The camaraderie and friendship feels real. Neil Flynn and John C. McGinley are fucking fantastic in this show, and it does get me to well up. It makes me feel feelings. But I still need to get the rest of the series. I've got the first 4 seasons. I haven't collected it. The last time I got a box set was when Transformers: Dark of the Moon came out, like on not on DVD, on in the movie theater, in the cinema. That's the last time I got the season. It was the season 4 back in, that was 2011. It's been 4 years. I got to make up for lost time. But yeah, Scrubs. That is my number 6. Number 5, Daria. Now, it's funny. Daria is an MTV show. You know, it's got MTV's logo right there. It's an MTV show, but it really doesn't feel like MTV made it. Like, if you watch this, and you see the MTV logos, you're just like, wait, what the fuck? MTV made this? It's astounding, because this is the antithesis to what MTV is. This is very counterculture. This is very smart. This is very front-facing. This is reality. And it doesn't pull any punches. Not that it's a harsh show, it's a comedy. But it's basically, it's about a high school girl named Daria. She just moved to this new town. Her younger sister is incredibly popular. Daria is misanthropic. She speaks in deadpan. She's very sarcastic. Basically, they get high school so right in this. There's a set of characters in her school that basically represents someone you went to high school with. If you went to high school, you can identify with at least one of them. You were one of these characters. Were you Daria? Were you Jane? Were you Stacy? Stacy? Or no, was it Sandy? That's her name. The fucking queen bitch. Then there's the teachers. You probably had one of these teachers. The teachers are fucking great, especially Mr. DiMartino. He's fucking crazy. You've got the crazy principal who's just trying to turn a profit on the school and alters the football QB's, the football team quarterback's grades so that he can just stay on the team and continue to play football. And there is some legitimate stuff in this. Basically, this encapsulates the high school experience. Even though this came out in 1997 and ran through 2002, I watched this show just after I got out of high school, and it made me realize that not much has changed as far as high school goes. It's pretty much the same. I mean, yeah, you've got different technologies and such, but as far as cliques go and the kind of people, yeah, it hasn't changed much, apparently. Well, evidently, from the time this show was made, and well, I graduated high school in 2013. That was 2 years ago. And nothing's changed. I can't really talk too much more about this show. I can't do it justice. It's just so good. Apparently it's on Hulu. Go check it out on Hulu. I'm not sure if it's Hulu Plus or straight Hulu. It's there, but you can find it online easily enough. It's a damn good show, but there are 2 TV movies that bookend season 5. You gotta watch those in order to understand season 5, or at the very least, the first one to understand season 5, and the second one so you can get a satisfying conclusion to the series. it's a damn good show. Or a lot of Walmarts have been stocking the DVD. This is the complete series. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the music it was broadcast with because of legal trouble, and if they actually did get all of it, this would cost hundreds of dollars. But it's not even $20 to get the whole series, and there's not many bonus features. So if you want bonus features like I did, then you're out of luck. But it is a very cheap series to get on DVD. I would say go pick it up. It's damn good, and it's definitely worth. It's even worth $50, but you know you can get it for less than 20.
Number 4, Megas XLR.
All right, I've got a story about Megas XLR. Now, when I entered high school, when I was a freshman, I had just rediscovered the show, and I was looking all over the internet to find a way to download the episodes for free, because Pirate's Life was the life for me back then. I didn't have money. So basically, my goal of freshman year, at least the first half, was to get all the episodes, and by sheer happenstance, I managed to burn them all on DVD. These are not legitimate. These are basically just rips, or recordings rather, of the TV broadcasts of the episodes, burned onto DVD through Windows DVD Maker. So it's not extravagant. It's basically pop it in, select episode, go. It's not top-notch quality. It's not the Xbox Live or iTunes versions that you can buy, which are really nice looking. It's just straight broadcast quality, which isn't that good. And there's some artifacting and some video issues. But then again, it was broadcast. This was back when we still had tube TVs, because the show was in 2004. The show, I should talk about the show. Basically, it's a parody of mecha anime. I'm not a big anime person. It's a parody of mecha anime where in the future there's this war between humanity and this squid people called the Glorft. And so humanity, specifically this woman named Kiva, steals like their best ship, the Glorft's best ship, and then they repurpose it into Megas, Mechanized Earth Guard Attack System. Now, there's a time travel device on it so they can go back to a certain battle and turn the tide of the war. Unfortunately, it gets damaged when it was trying to go back in time, and it ends up in a junkyard in New Jersey where these two numbskulls, Coop and Jamie, Coop's a gearhead and a fat ass, and they both love video games, specifically Coop. They restore it, and there's no head on it, so Coop just puts a 1970 Plymouth Barracuda convertible on the robot for a head. And to control all the functions of Megas, which he renamed Megas XLR, says word of God apparently, it's never come up in the show, for extra large robot, all of the controls are in the car as game controllers. And Kiva comes, the Glorf come, and so she has to train Coop to pilot Megas efficiently, the Glorf come regularly, all these different wacky villains. Bruce Campbell's in the second episode, and he's great! But a lot of the comedy comes from Coop's achievements in ignorance. There's the buttons that Coop has in Megas that basically just completely break the fourth wall, like Coop says, "Alright, it's time to go into Super Destructor mode." And he pushes a button that says, "You heard him, kids, Super Destructor mode." Or 5 minutes until end of episode button. I still love that button. And they do have allusions to different series. Like there's an episode with giant robots in space that are voiced by Frank Welker and Peter Cullen. That's his name. Optimus Prime and Megatron, non-respectively. And they do play up a lot of the weirdness of this show, but it's a straight comedy. There's action in it, and it's all hand-drawn, which I think is great. It looks so nice hand-drawn. The soundtrack is actually, with the exception of the intro theme, it's all from sound libraries, and it fits so well. The song Short Hair, Coop's battle theme, nope, sound library. But it fits so well. Those sound libraries have great music. But unfortunately, Cartoon Network canceled it after 2 seasons. There are conflicting reasons for this. Possibly because the new head in charge, I think it was Stuart Snyder, didn't understand the show. The budget was too high, or it was the ratings. I don't know. But honestly, I would like to see Megas make a comeback because the creators are working so hard to bring it back, at the very least for reruns on Toonami. So I hope that happens. But until then, you can find Megas somewhere. Like, if you want to, like, understand, like, some of the jokes in Lost in Reach, the earlier seasons, and know where a lot of the music from some of the earlier seasons came from, watch Megas XLR. It is a fucking fun show.
Number 3, Doctor Who.
Now, I'm not showing a DVD or a Blu-ray for Doctor Who because I got a lot of it. I've got about 25% of the classic series on my shelf over there. I've got all but 2 series and 2 Christmas specials of the modern series. There's a lot to talk about with Doctor Who. Honestly, I'm actually going to look at my notes right here. There's a great sense of adventure through it because the show provides near infinite possibility for story, because it's about an alien who travels around in a machine that can travel in time and space that looks like a British police box, and he brings some companions along. More often than not, they're human, especially in the modern series, where they're all basically girls from modern-day Earth. But one of my favorite things to say about the show, which I think is completely accurate, is that there is something for everyone, but it's not a show for everyone. There are a lot of people who will say, "Oh, I don't get Doctor Who." That's fine, you know. I mean, all there is to get is, like, it's a guy traveling around and having adventures, really, and he just brings some friends along. But there's something for everyone. The show's been around for 50 years. It hasn't been running for 50 years, contrary to what a lot of people think. But it's been around for 50 years, I should say. It hasn't been on for 50 years. It's also transcended just TV. In that there's the audio dramas. I love the audio dramas from Big Finish. They basically took one of the incarnations of the Doctor, because every time an actor wants to leave, they kill off the main character, the Doctor. Not Doctor Who, as some people would claim, but, you know, tabloids say it so that, you know, people know what they're talking about. And then they just have a new actor come in, and I think that's perfectly acceptable. My favorite Doctor is Paul McGann, the 8th Doctor, the one that's only been on screen twice. Once for the TV movie, which is sort of okay, and Night of the Doctor, where it was officially confirmed that his audio stories are canon. His audio stories are terrific. They're from Big Finish Productions. They're a bit expensive, but they're an independent company with an official license. If you don't know Paul McGann, then you really need to look into him, because if you're a modern fan of Doctor Who, you probably have seen Night of the Doctor. But God, he is so good. And my second favorite, Sylvester McCoy. Honestly, my opinion to David Tennant, because a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, well, why isn't your favorite David Tennant or Matt Smith?" I like Matt Smith. I like him as the Doctor. David Tennant, I almost despise his Doctor, but I love him as an actor. And people think I'm the Antichrist for saying it. I don't like the 10th Doctor. I don't. I love David Tennant. Don't hate. I don't like the 10th Doctor. I'm a Paul McGann guy. Not many people get that. But yeah, this show is something that basically transcends me. It transcends a lot of people. Honestly, if you want to listen to more people talk about Doctor Who, check out Stuart Hardy, or He Who Moans, Demi Looming, and 5 Who Fans. I gave all 3 of them shout-outs, even though they don't need them. In fact, I need shout-outs. But yeah, that's Doctor Who.
Number 2, Cowboy Bebop.
Now, it's kind of weird putting Cowboy Bebop so high on the list, because I actually just finished watching it. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of anime, but that's not because it's anime. It's just there's not much there to interest me. Cowboy Bebop, it feels so. These characters just feel so real. They basically, the premise of the show is they're bounty hunters. It starts with 2, Spike, who's the main character, and Jet. And they recruit basically 3 other people. There's Faye, who is also a bounty hunter, but also she's at times Miss Fan Service because she doesn't wear too much. Honestly, I don't find it too distracting. Ed, who is this hacker genius, and Ein, who is a Welsh Corgi data dog. who is supposedly implied to be smarter than everyone else. But that's beside the point. Each of these characters, with the possible exception of Ed, well, actually Ed does, they all have a complicated past that really defines who they have become at the point of the series. They're bounty hunters chasing bounties all throughout the solar system. This is the late 21st century, the year 2071. Spike used to be an assassin for a very brutal crime syndicate, and he's basically trying to run away from that past. Jet was a cop, a good cop that wouldn't go crooked, who basically couldn't maintain being a straight cop in a crooked cop's world, so he left it behind. Faye, I don't want to give away Faye's, because Faye's... This show made me cry on several occasions. The last few episodes really, really tug at my heartstrings. Like, there's one song from this show called See You Space Cowboy. It is a different rendition of the ending theme, The Real Folk Blues. I can't listen to See You Space Cowboy without welling up in 10 seconds. I just can't. And the thing is, like I said, I don't know if it really belongs on here because I just watched the show. I just finished the last episode a few days ago. But I love it so much. Words cannot do it justice. There's a reason why this broke out in such high acclaim and great popularity when it came over to the West in 2001. And that's because, unlike a lot of other anime that I've noticed, which have deeply Asian roots and influences, this one is primarily Western. Like, it was popular enough in Japan, but when it came to the US, it exploded in popularity. I've done my research. Like, I've seen it in listings on Adult Swim, like, for years. And I've heard about it. I didn't know much about it other than guys named Spike Spiegel and girl named Faye Valentine. But, yeah, there is a reason why this transcended its popularity in Japan here in the West. And that's because it draws a lot of influence from Westerns and film noir and all these different genres. And the soundtrack, oh my god, the soundtrack is fucking great. It blends jazz and a bit of classic rock and funk, and it's so damn good. I need to stop talking about it because I'm not going to have enough time to talk about my number one. But please just look at this show. It's so good. I need to get it on Blu-ray. Also, the movie's pretty good.
And my number one favorite television series is The Simpsons.
Now, a lot of people are going to hate that I put The Simpsons at number one because, oh, they haven't been good since the 90s or whatever the fuck. Look, there's been a slump of The Simpsons. There was a slump from, like, season, I don't know, fucking 14 to 24. But season 25 and 26 have actually been pretty good. And the reason I don't have Simpsons DVD to show off here is because I got the first 10 seasons on DVD. Now, seasons 2 through 11 are probably the best seasons to me. They're so good. The comedy is right on point. It also helps that I've been a fan of this show since I was basically a sperm. Ever since I was born, my dad and I have watched The Simpsons. It's something that we do. It's something we love. It's comedy gold. I mean, granted, you have to have some knowledge of 90s pop culture if you're going to watch the best stuff. But you have to... But it's... The way they play it... And this was also... The Simpsons came out around as a reaction to the wholesome programming of earlier, where it didn't take any chances and, oh, Father always knows best. And, yeah, there was actually a show called Father Knows Best. Just like, oh, well, Dad is always right, and nuclear family, and peace, love, and the American way, Superman. But The Simpsons completely inverts all that, with Marge being a really nagging mom that's sort of oblivious to a lot of things, mainly played for laughs. Homer is a fucking idiot, but he's got a heart of gold. At least earlier, he's sort of become more just a jerk recently, which, you know, that's unfortunate. You've got Bart being the smartass kid that harasses authority figures and gets away with it. You've got Lisa, who's the smart person living in a dumb person's world, and you got Maggie, who shot Mr. Burns. knowingly and willingly. And if this brings up the question, what do you think of Family Guy? Honestly, I like the first 3 seasons of Family Guy. Don't like it after. I kind of feel as though it was a clone of The Simpsons. That's probably why I like the first 3 seasons. But there were a lot of shows that were clones of The Simpsons, which is one of the things that Critic, which I showed off earlier, avoided, like the plague. But the reason The Simpsons has been around for so long, even though so many people claim, oh, no one watches it anymore, it's not good anymore, is because it's still one of the highest rated shows on Fox. It still brings them in money. Why would they cancel it? It's still a huge moneymaker. It makes sense to keep it on. But a lot of my best memories with my dad have been forged watching The Simpsons. It's something that we bond over. It's something that we talk about regularly and reference. And we moved, where we moved to, we don't live too far from Universal Studios. And recently they opened up, they expanded the Simpsons portion of the park. And one of the things that we want to do at some point, we don't know when, is we want to go there because it's Springfield. They've got Moe's Tavern and such. We want to go there, and we want to just basically spend a day in Springfield. We are just such huge fans of the show. It's something that's stuck with me for all 20 years of my life thus far, and it's going to stick with me throughout the rest of my life. I want to collect the whole series, or at least what I can, on DVD and Blu-ray because fucking Fox decided to stop putting it out when there's a fucking 2-season gap to seasons 18 and 19. But The Simpsons has had its moments of less than quality episodes and even whole seasons, but I still come back to it. My dad and I share it. Share a connection over it. We hold it in very high esteem. It's been with me throughout my whole life. And some episodes of The Simpsons, or even whole seasons, have been some of the best things I've ever seen on television. It's no wonder this show was so controversial at the time, because it was pointing out a bunch of bullshit and it was breaking down the barriers of television, which now it doesn't seem so taboo. It seems pretty tame. Especially when you had South Park coming around and Family Guy, especially South Park, who still is pushing the boundaries. South Park, which good on them, because Trey and Matt are doing good with pushing the boundaries. But The Simpsons will always have its place, and there is a reason why it's still going and is still around. Do I think that it's been going for too long? Maybe. But I've got some of the best times with my dad through this show, and that brings it at my number 1. Alright, so that is my list of my top 10 favorite TV shows. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment with your favorite TV shows. Doesn't matter if it's animated or live action, from Japan, from, I don't know, fucking Ireland or Britain. Just say your favorite TV shows, get some discussions going, and hit that subscribe button. Next week is a new backlog. I'm going to be playing Dead Space, as noted by the end of the previous episode, and I've already started recording the game for the following episode, and I've got a whole list of games for the first season. So, this is the plan. Every other week I'm going to be making one of these. Every other week in the interim, backlog. So, please stick around, and you will have, hopefully, entertainment out the something. I think it's out the bum. I'm not sure.